Hi everyone, my name's Anneliese Aeria, and today I am joined by Ken Downing. It is such an honor to have you here with me again. We are both in town for Fashion Group International's Student Award and Runway show, and so I guess I'd like to start off with how do you tie back to FGI? Because you are their keynote speaker for today,
Well,
and
first, I'm so happy to be with you. I adore
oh,
you, and we had such a great time when we did this
yes, we
together the
did.
last time. It's interesting. Early in my career, I wanted to be part of the fashion group, and a little lately unknown fact, because time has passed, fashion group was only for women. Men were
Really?
not allowed to join fashion group. And which I always found so interesting because when I came into the industry, it was Calvin Klein and Oscar de Laurent and Bill Blass and certainly Mr. Saint Laurent and Karl Lagerfeld, amongst other amazing women who were also fashion designers. But I found the lack of inclusivity a bit peculiar, just in an industry that was so filled with talents of both men and women. But it was originally a women's only group.
Wow,
Which,
that's
when you
so
think about it today,
surprising to
doesn't
me.
it? Doesn't it? And actually, Mary Lou Luther, who was the fashion editor of many newspapers, most recently Los Angeles Times, and very involved in fashion group now, and a very dear friend, and probably has more fashion knowledge than most people realize. It was her husband's suggestion, even before she became involved with fashion group, that you really need to open it up for men.
Yeah.
So I was very excited when Fashion Group decided that it was no longer going to be just a women's organization,
goodness.
early inclusion, and that they opened it up to men as well. Because I think that what's important about fashion, and certainly what's important about Fashion Group, it opens up a dialogue, not only in a particular city, as we're here in Dallas with Fashion Group Dallas, but it is Fashion Group International. And I think that it's important that in the global world today, more than ever, that there's an international dialogue about fashion, about
Yes.
the industry, the movers, the shakers, the things in the industry that are actually working well. And sometimes we have to be reflective and say, what in fashion isn't working well?
Yes.
And Fashion Group opens up an enormous dialogue for many voices so we can keep our industry strong, we can keep it relevant, and we can ensure that there's an important industry for the future for young people like yourself and even people younger than you. So I love the fact that Fashion Group, beyond being such a strong organization and certainly supports the current world of fashion, they're very much a futurist organization. As today, we're going to be giving scholarships to
Yes.
students. And, without the students and the creators and the dreamers of today, there will be no future for fashion. And I think that
Yes.
Fashion Group really brings that ability for young people to dream and make sure that the industry moves forward.
Yes, I agree. And it's so interesting to me that it was predominantly women because having done FGI's shows in the past, I've found that surprisingly most of the designers appeared to be male.
A dear friend, Diane von Furstenberg, had said to me, I can say this to you because it is not my cult. Women design for women, men design costumes. But I did not say that, Christy Lacroix said that. So I'm happy to share that with you. And I said, well, I don't know if all men necessarily in the world today create costume, but I do think that when women are designing clothes, they look at themselves. They look into
Yes.
their own closet, they look at their lifestyle. And even I think that men today who are super successful as fashion designers spend time with women. They have a very clear lens of how a woman lives, not only in a particular city, but around the world, because it is women all around the world that are fashion enthusiasts. And when you stay connected to the customer, be it if you're a menswear designer, if you're a womenswear designer, the more that you understand that it is not just you're putting clothes on, but many women of different shapes, sizes, and colors out there in the world, it really influences how you see what you
Yes.
create. So I'm happy to say that today it's far less about costume. I think the costume comes through in the crazy styling, and you've certainly had crazy styling when you've been in shows.
Yes.
But I think it's really about when you distill all of the styling that makes things feel fun and the frolic of the runway, there are clothes that people can actually assimilate into their wardrobe. And I think that's what makes fashion very relevant today because anyone can love fashion, and so many people do love fashion because of the
Yes.
internet.
Yes.
Instagram,
It's very
Facebook.
accessible now.
It's super accessible.
Yes.
Doesn't matter if it's super expensive or if it's affordable, but it's really given us all the ability to translate what we love to do with our own personal style, which to me I think is the chicest way to dress anyway.
Yes. Yes, I agree. And next up, with your recent career changes,
Did I have a career change?
Wow. I'm so excited to have the opportunity to talk with you today over coffee before we go off to FGI. But I mean, Dallas Morning News, the New York Times has been interviewing you, and I mean, I think everybody wants to know what's next. What is?
I have to tell you, it was it was a little overwhelming when the media exploded
Oh, I'm
around the
sure.
fact that I was changing careers.
Of course.
And part of it because it didn't seem like it was that big of news in a way, but I guess it was big news. And I probably didn't want it to be big news because I spent over 28 years at Neiman Marcus.
Yeah.
And you know, I love my family at Neiman Marcus, and I
course.
love Neiman Marcus. I will always be part of Neiman Marcus.
Of course.
I was actually with Stanley's daughter, Jerry Smith, the other night, and his granddaughter, Allison Smith, and I said, you know, I with great humility, and I would never equate myself to Stanley. I'm not that grand in my opinions of myself, but I hope, like Stanley, I left behind a legacy that will be remembered, and that people will think of me fondly. And even when I'm not there, they'll think Ken did good things. Ken had the spirit of Neiman Marcus and the love of the customer. And I think that I always want that to kind of be part of what I brought to Neiman Marcus, is how much I loved customers. And I learned so much. There were many mentors within the organization that taught me amazing things. But I think that in the world today, it's all about reinvention.
Yes.
In fact, on my Insta, I've been doing hashtag reinvention because it was time for Ken to reinvent himself. And, you know, going to design school in the early 80s, ending up in the visual department at iMagnin, ultimately at Neiman Marcus in Beverly Hills, kind of breaking all the rules at Neiman Marcus in Beverly Hills, making them want me to move corporately to Dallas.
Yes.
And overseeing the creative direction of the visual merchandising world, overseeing public relations and special events, and kind of reinventing what a party and a fashion show meant, and then reinventing the role of a fashion director when many fashion directors weren't going digital. Fashion directors weren't interfacing with customers, and didn't always spend a lot of time in the marketplace with the designers and the magazine editors and the buyers. And I wanted to really bring a valuable reason that I was a fashion director, not just sitting front row. And sitting front row is fun.
Yeah, it's all
but,
fun,
but you know, at the end of the day, you're there to create a service to the people you work with and to the customers that you cater to. And I feel that I'd really done all the things that I really wanted to do in that role. And when the opportunity to be the chief creative officer for 555 came along, it was too good to turn down. And I'm relocating to New York. Fortuitously, I bought an
Wonderful.
apartment a few years back. So I'm closed my office on Friday, ran errands on Saturday, got on a plane Sunday, and started my job on Monday because no grass
God.
grows under my feet, but that's how Virgos roll.
Yeah, of
We, because I know your mother's a Virgo.
Oh, you know it.
I know. We're always busy, we're always creating, we're always making pretty. And what's interesting about my role as the Chief Creative Officer for 555, the big project I'm working on right now is and I hesitate to use this word, it is beyond a mall. It is shopping, it is dining, and it is entertainment. And it is over 6 million square feet. It has a ski slope, which there will be a fashion show on the ski slope. There will be boys in bikinis and
Goodness.
fur trapper caps and girls in ball gowns. And
I
right
can't
now I already have
wait.
calls out to agencies like, where are the models that know how to ski? There is a swim park, there's an amusement park, there's a movie theater. There is Hermes and Gucci and Vuitton and Barney's and Saks Fifth Avenue and Yves Saint Laurent. So it's amazing shopping, as well as Apple and Zara, because I
Amazing.
love my Saint Laurent and I love my Zara and I love to wear them at the same time. And the idea of reinventing retail is exciting to me. And people want to say that brick and mortar or that, actually going to a store is over. And I don't believe that.
I beg to differ.
And you
I
should.
just, online shopping to me, I know it's a product that I've experienced in the past through in-person shopping, then I can feel okay with that. But I like to be there. I like to touch it. I like to feel it. I like that customer shopping experience.
And don't you like the journey of going into a store? The exploration of shopping feels good again.
Yes.
It felt good to me in my heart, and it felt good to me in my soul. And I think the reason that people decided they didn't want to go into stores anymore is stores weren't exciting. They weren't creative. They weren't theater. Speaking of Stanley Marcus brought theater to retail. They opened his father, his aunt, and her husband opened Neiman Marcus when it was the crossroads of cotton and cattle. There was no reason for Neiman Marcus to be in Dallas, Texas, and they created a reason for people wanting to shop. And Stanley recreated that reason in the 50s and into the 60s, and he did it through theater. He did it through bringing the world to the customer. And so I am going to bring theater. I'm bringing creativity. I'm bringing artistic flourishes through young artists who are going to not only be doing art exhibits within this amazing neighborhood community that I love.
I was going to make. Some of my favorite shopping locations have frequently cycled through artists' exhibits, where it's always something new, it's always something fresh, there's always something going on.
There's a reason to come.
There's a reason to come back every week.
It's going to be an ever-changing show of beautiful things, and not in locations that are stagnant. It's important to me that even the exciting pieces of theater are moving around the community we're building as well.
Yes.
It's because it's such an enormous project. My vision is that it is a neighborhood. It is a city within a city, but each area is its own neighborhood. And it's going to build a community, and a very diverse community, and a very inclusive community. In fact, the opening, actually the pre-opening, I hate that term, it's very retail. But before we open, the entire ad campaign is very much about what is your American dream. And it is about inclusivity. It is about building community, and it's about really celebrating one another, because even if you're not an American, you have a vision of what your American dream is. And so I want to hear the stories of people from the East Coast, the West Coast, from Maine to Miami, from Seattle to San Francisco and Sarasota, Florida. I want to hear their stories of what their American dream is. And then I'm going to go to Singapore, and I'm going to go to Paris, I'm going to Milan and the UK, and ask that question, because we all have a story of what our American dream is. And it's not about selling food. It's not about selling fashion. It's not about selling the fun. It's about selling the dream of what America means to people. And for that, I believe they're going to come. And they will enjoy the food, they will enjoy the fun, and the fashion is like over the top and spectacular.
Oh, sure.
But I don't think that we need to see another ad campaign with a girl in a dress, a guy doing whatever.
It's time for change. It's time for reinvention.
We can't do what everybody else is doing.
Of course.
And so I am being bold. I'm being fearless. The fact that I'm working with a team of people who are as bold and fearless and as unafraid as I am, it's exhilarating.
Oh, sure.
Every day I show up to work and I'm like, yes, no, maybe. There's never a maybe when you're a Virgo. It's like, no, yes. But it feels so good. And there's so much buzz already about what's going to be beyond the walls of the American dream. And I'm not going to tell you everything,
Of course.
but I will tell you there is a lot that is going to create jaw-dropping awe.
Well, I can't wait.
And it's from the most state-of-the-art Apple store. It's a little bit of everything. And it's a place where you're going to want to come and hang. It's not, don't touch,
It's not
don't
a
walk
museum.
in. It's not a museum.
You go in and you live the experience.
And the amazing thing, architecturally, The skylights are, there's just amazing natural light that floods into the spaces, beautiful
I
finishes.
love a good skylight.
Well, because it makes you feel good. It's
Yes,
euphoric.
it's the natural lighting. I mean, like I thrive off of natural light.
I do, and I think everyone does. You know, that was part of Stanley Marcus's vision when he started building stores outside of the store in downtown Dallas. Escalator wells with big, wide open atriums, because the sense of light and space creates euphoria within an individual, and it makes you want to stay in the space. So it's interesting that I join a company who didn't even realize that was kind of Stanley's point of view, but I'm bringing a little bit of Stanley with me because it's just too much part of my life.
Of course, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
You have to be in my show when we're on the ski slopes.
I will learn to ski for that.
Do you not know how to ski? You're going to have to, because
I'm taking lessons now.
I have to tell you, it's real snow. People are like, oh, is it a carpet? Is it faux snow? No faux snow.
no,
It is
no.
real snow.
We go all out here.
It is real snow. It snows from the ceiling, and it's going to be amazing. But
I can't
the
wait.
idea that you can actually engage and entertain and create experiences that maybe you would see at a Chanel fashion show in Paris, but not necessarily see on the Eastern Seaboard. And so I want to not only exceed the expectations of the visitors that come to American Dream, I kind of want to blow their mind. And so it's, I wake up every morning like, what mind-blowing idea can I bring to my team today? And it's keeping me going.
I think that's incredible, and I have no doubt in my mind that you will blow everyone away.
Let's hope so. A lot of people are counting on it, but I think it's going to actually be
No,
kind
if
of pretty
anyone can do
spectacular.
it, it's Ken Downing.
Thank you.
And well, I guess lastly, to wrap up, everybody wants to know, what are your style predictions to tie back to our last conversation? What has changed? What do you see?
Well, I will tell you where we're headed. And
Okay.
it's interesting you ask, because I was very excited about this kind of 90s moment that I thought was going to, that I truly thought it was going to be prolific all over the runway. And I did not see as much of this 90s referencing as I had anticipated. Enough that I know that I'm on track with what I'm believing. But, you know, generally I wait for Paris to validate what I feel so strongly about. And the season, when we were at the fall shows for spring, Paris continued to be and was continually obsessed with the idea of the 80s. Now, as you know, I've been talking about the 80s for about 2 years now. 80s music, 80s shoulder pads, return of tailoring, as you in your blazer. And it was like everywhere in Paris. Depeche Mode, Annie Lennox on all the soundtracks. But I'm in this Nirvana moment. And as you know, I'm from Seattle. I saw Kurt Cobain when Kurt Cobain was no one, and Pioneer Square, where grunge was born. And we are heading into a bit of this kind of grunge, glam grunge moment.
Nice.
A slip dress with a little t-shirt layered underneath it.
Some
The
mesh.
idea of punk kind of morphed into new wave. New wave really became grunge. And so this idea of kind of menswear checks and plaids, the idea of kind of oversized blazers that are kind of topping slip dresses, and combat boots, and sometimes
I got
super
my boots.
crazy, exaggerated combat boots under a frilly little dress. I mean, certainly Kurt's wife, Courtney Love, has a lot of influence on what people are looking at. Even the idea of kind of baby doll dresses and shapes like that feel really good to my eye. And then also with the 90s, the idea of a little bit more of a streamlined, pared down chic, and things that aren't so noisy when you walk into a room. Not the sound of clothes, but the visual noise that clothes have been making for the last few seasons. Spangly, jangly, bright and shiny. It's about the woman. It's about the girl, and we're going to see her first before we realize that her clothes are coming in with a whole lot to say. And I think that in the times we live right now, it feels good.
Yes.
I want to see things that are a little pulled back, a little
A little
less,
bit more minimalistic.
a little
to
more minimal.
Highlight the woman and the person behind the
and a little less
clothes.
obvious.
Yeah.
I want her. I want you to tell me the story. I don't want your clothes to tell me the story. And there will be a moment when I want clothes to tell a story again.
Of course.
Because when you work in fashion, we get bored incredibly quickly. But I want the woman, I want the man, I want the guy, I want the girl. I want it to be their story that they're telling, not that their clothes are speaking for them before they walk into a room. So this very kind of almost a bit of a sobriety. And I think we need
That's
this kind of
nice.
cleansing moment of, and then there's tons of tailoring. The pantsuit, which I've been talking about for a while, the skirt
Love a
suits
good
are back.
suit.
But you probably never
Power
wore a
suit.
pantsuit ever before. This is
I
like, it's the first
have.
moment.
Yeah.
But now, because,
Well, now I'm even more inclined to it.
of course, because it's new to you. Some women say to me, I have a pantsuit. I'm like, sweetheart, it's the wrong pantsuit.
the wrong
Some women have the wrong pantsuit, so if you probably have the wrong one, you need a new one. But when we see Kaya Gerber and Kendall Jenner and Blake Lively showing up on the red carpets and at openings and premieres in pantsuits, it's inspiring.
It is.
And I think it looks so fresh, it looks so right, and I'm just crazy about tailoring. I'm so happy to see that it's back. So that's where I am right now with what
Good.
I'm loving and what's going to be happening next.
Well, that's so good to hear because I know your style predictions last time we talked were spot on. And I feel like after Paris Fashion Week, there's been so much color and so much vibrancy. And so it's nice to know that we're having kind of just a little breath.
When we get
and
into fall,
a
you're going to
little
be wearing
freshness.
camel.
Good.
You're going to be wearing a lot of camel and actually a lot of olive as well. Even the idea of kind of militaristic ideas, a lot of capes and actually coats that have capes attached to them. But there is color, kind of marine blues, postal blues. Even the idea of kind of the peacocks and teals that we've been seeing for a while are out there. And interestingly, the shock of pink. Pink just
I
does not
love
want to take a
pink.
rest. Shocking pink. Even the most subdued fashion designers had the shock of pink in their show when you least expected it. It could have
I
been just
know.
like all quiet color, shock of pink right there, just to kind of like wake you up. So that idea of kind of shocking pink is going to be everywhere. But it's a great season. I love fall clothes because we can layer a little bit.
Yes, that is nice. I know your comment about the pink. I was working with Monique Lullier yesterday, and out of the entire fall collection, there's one hot pink gown.
Of course.
And it had this gorgeous high-low skirt where when you just get a few strides going, it just flows behind you, and it's
Isn't Monique
breathtaking.
amazing?
It's incredible.
Such
And
a
so
lovely, lovely
I love
woman.
the vibrant pink.
You look great in it.
Well, thank you.
I'm looking forward to seeing you in the show this afternoon.
Good, and I can't wait. And so I guess that wraps up my chat with Ken for today. And we've got to go to FGI.
Love you, my dear.